All right. So, hello, everybody. This is Max Roth, and we are here ready to talk you through some of what's happening in this year's election. Election day has come, and I know a whole lot of you are probably excited. A lot of you are anxious. This has been a strange year. What we want to do is be able to kind of take you through what's happening in Utah. We'll talk about what's happening nationally a little bit as we look at all of the states' polls closing, and as it moves westward, and we see even some of our neighboring states that have closed thus far. We have a whole lot of people who are standing by, ready to talk to us about what is happening. Look at that good group of people! Wow, what a team! This is great. They're all waving hello. You know what I want to start with, because the news that we know is happening right now is where Mythily is. Mythily Gooby, you are there in Utah County, and honestly, it sounds like a mess there.
Max, just take a look at all of these lines here.
Hmm.
This is in Provo. This is at the Health and Justice Building. Now, we've been here for a couple hours now. These lines have not changed. There have been so many people coming through. It actually goes outside the building right now. Just people that are lining up. And this is not even a location with actual delays and with issues. There have been delays at other locations now in
Yeah.
Highland and Pleasant Grove. They had some printer problems. The magenta ink was low, so they couldn't even print the black and white ballots because of how the printers were working. So they were getting emergency ballots there, but those take a little longer to fill out. So that could even lead to longer delays than what we're seeing right now. They do have other polling stations that could start having similar issues, which is why they wanted to kind of move around some supplies, get them what they need before they reach a critical situation like what happened in Highland and Pleasant Grove. So
And Mythily,
hopefully,
oh,
sorry, go ahead,
I
Max.
I was just going to interrupt real briefly because I failed to give a little bit of context to all of this, which is what this means for our viewers. All of you at home, it could be a long time before we have any results statewide, and it's because specifically of what's happening in the county where Mythily is, not at the polling location where she is. But as Mythily, you are explaining that, I just want our viewers to know the lieutenant governor has said no results are going to come out until every person has gotten through a line everywhere in Utah and Utah County, Weber County as well. We'll get to that. But Mythily, as you're watching this happening, first of all, printing ballots. That is, when we're starting to talk about magenta ink, that that shouldn't be what we're talking about on election day.
So that printing ballots, the way it works, Max, is they all have these ballot papers, and depending on who comes to vote, they print the ballot according to their preferences. And
Of
because
course.
every precinct has different propositions and different issues or different
Yeah.
candidates based on where you live, so they're not printing them in bulk; they're printing them as someone comes to vote. So
Hmm.
now they have the paper there, but the ink wasn't printed. That's why they sent the emergency ballots. But those could have more things to fill on them, or not as tailored as they were previously if it's printed for that person, which is why it's taking so long. But like you said, until every person in this line and any of these lines have voted, we're not going to get any results. And in the past 30 minutes or so, I'm hearing from staff that it could take over 2 hours for some of these voters to get to cast their ballot, because over here is a mix of registered and also not registered voters that have come here to register first and then cast their ballot.
Okay, and Maithili, last question. I really appreciate you've been so busy out there, and that did really become the place where we're getting some news early on here in the election. What are you hearing from people? Have you seen people grumbling and leaving the line? Any complaints like that?
Actually, no. Everyone is just really excited to be here and be part of this process. I heard some people, playing games or just trying to pass the time that way, talking to different people. Someone telling me that this feels like Disneyland because the lines are so long, but there's no fast pass available. So they're just kind of waiting in line to
Yeah.
do their thing. But there's a lot of excitement out here. Some first time voters, some people
Hmm.
that had address changes, so they weren't able to get their ballots on time. That's why they're here in person. But overall, spirits look great. No one's
Hmm.
grumpy, and it's really nice out here.
Well, I sure hope that continues as the night goes on. Because unlike Disneyland, they don't have, little robots saying, funny things to you as you walk through different parts of that line. So there you go. Okay, so Maithili, thank you. We're going to let you go for now. And I want to go, we were looking to Ben. Ben, you're so plugged into all of this stuff. So many of us, even in this room, are learning about what's happening as you are learning about what's happening. And so just tell us in general, what are you seeing today? What are your thoughts where we are right now?
Well, I think the long lines are certainly the big issue of the evening. We are seeing long lines being reported from Weber County, Salt Lake County, Utah County, Washington County, Cache County, all over. This is certainly a thing. We are trying to get a sense of exactly what this is. Utah is a state
Hmm.
that allows same-day voter registration. Could this be a factor here? Certainly everybody who is an eligible registered voter receives a mail-in ballot. The vast majority have utilized that, but we do see this where people just choose to vote in person on election day because they like to. So a lot of this is going to be questions for the lieutenant governor's office and county clerks tomorrow about what exactly was driving this, because obviously they're very busy just trying to get people processed, get people voting right now. But we're
Hmm.
seeing this all over. The lieutenant governor, in fact, just posted on the social media site Threads, 7:30 update. Going to be a long night, folks.
Oh boy.
As with her stance
Yeah.
that we will not be reporting results, we will not be releasing results until the last person in line has cast their ballot. That certainly delays, and especially since we are hearing of 1.5 to 2 hours to 2.5 hour delays, that is going to mean that we are going to get results much later in the evening. And it is there, from what I understand from some counties, they are going to release an initial round of ballots, and then they are going to call it a night and resume
Hmm.
counting tomorrow. Just so that everybody's clear, they have until the canvass to do this. The idea of
Which
getting
is
an
2 weeks essentially.
right, and the idea of getting instant results is sort of a convenience of projections and results that we have and prognostications and things like that. But really, nothing means anything until the canvass. That is when it is final.
Yeah.
So we've got a ways to go, and I think people just need to understand that with elections, practice patience, because
Hmm.
election day becomes election week, really.
Yeah.
From what I understand from a lot of clerks that I've been messaging and talking to tonight, they do expect the lines to go down pretty quickly. Utah County might be an exception here just because of
Hmm.
that printing problem that has happened. But we expect to start getting results. We could be getting them in the 9 o'clock hour, maybe closer to 10 o'clock. It's hard to say at this point. It just
And
depends on how many people are in line.
Ben, last question for now, but my impression, since we've had mail-in voting, I've been using my mail-in ballot. So I actually haven't gone and voted in person for years. My impression was that if you do go to a polling location, you're using a computerized, a touch screen in order to do that. Is that not the case? Why are they printing ballots
Well,
still
some
for these
locations,
folks?
because if you are, because if you are registering, say, for the first time, you
Hmm.
can vote provisionally. And in some cases, some locations do that with utilizing a paper ballot, and it depends on how the county chooses to administer the election. Some just choose to give people a ballot so that they can vote. And you can get people through a little bit, but and for people who may be wanting to vote in these last 20 minutes until the polls close in Utah, you can take your mail-in ballot that you have received, drive it to the in-person polling location, and certainly drop it off there in person and skip the line there. You can
Hmm.
also take it to a secure drop box until the polls close. All of this until the polls close at 8 p.m. And again, per the Lieutenant Governor's directive, if you are in line and the polls close at 8 p.m., you can continue. You will be allowed to cast your ballot. You will be to cast your vote, and no one will get results until the last person in Utah in one of those lines has cast their vote.
Yeah, and the last thing we want to do is put pressure on anybody. If you are there to vote, stay there to vote. We'll wait. No one likes to wait. That's fine. We know you're waiting as well at home or at the ballot location. Ben, thank you so much. We do rely on you. Look forward to what you learn as this night goes on. Now, I'm going to talk briefly to our web producer, Jeff. And Jeff, every now and then, our viewers may be hearing from you. You are the man behind the website and do so much great stuff for us. One thing that I wanted Jeff to find out is if I can show, I want to show some of the national stuff right now, specifically because some of our viewers live in a state that has been called already. So we have the system. There we go. Hey, thanks, Jeff. Great. And so we have viewers in Wyoming. So I'm going to call up Wyoming here. Wyoming has been called for Donald Trump by Decision Desk headquarters. That is the service that we use in order to find out how things are going. Again, we don't have any votes counted there, but because it is such a solidly red state, polling everything else indicates that there's really no chance that is going to go blue. And Wyoming has been called for our voters who are down here. Let's see, where are we? In Uinta County and in Sweetwater County and, the Rock Springs area there. We have viewers here in Fremont and Sublet and Lincoln County. Those are, I know some folks watch us from those places. I just want you to know we're watching. We only have that presidential call, but Wyoming has gone for Donald Trump. And now I'll ask Jeff if we can to move back to this because I want to talk to some of our other great folks. In fact, my friend Amy is at Spencer Cox's party. He has actually a pretty cool pad there that he gets to do these kinds of things, and he'll have some friends there as well. So, Amy, you're still locked out. You're outside the gates.
Outside the gates, I'm out here checking out how beautiful the governor's mansion is as I watch a steady stream of supporters, campaign workers, even family members start to come in here at the governor's mansion. They're hosting a small gathering to what they believe will be a celebration tonight. They're expecting a win over his Democratic opponent. Of course, that's Brian King. And then also a write-in candidate, Phil Lyman, was hoping to get a pretty good showing. But the incumbent, Spencer Cox, is hoping on winning tonight and celebrating that here at the governor's mansion, where he hopes to stay for another 4 years. We are outside. We're expecting to go up to the west portico with members of the media here. And we were hoping to talk to Spencer Cox a little bit later in the evening, but they're waiting for a lot of those results to come in. Lieutenant Governor, I know you've talked to her a little bit or talked about her with some of these other issues that are coming up. They're really monitoring that. The Lieutenant Governor, this, Max, they're elections, and so they didn't want to kind of cross those lines. And so we're just waiting to hear from the governor a little bit later on, but he wasn't going to talk to us until some of those results were coming in.
And one of the realities of Utah, Amy, is that a lot of the competition in Utah is intra-party. It's the Republicans, have factions, and so that's one of the things that we're seeing play out tonight. Is the governor has his own party at the mansion. There is a Republican Party. The Utah State Republican Party is having a party of their own, but that might not be friendly territory for Governor Cox right now.
Well, like you said, there's always interesting politics, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
we are seeing a steady stream of people coming in here. I know they kind of downplayed it, saying there weren't a lot of people coming. It was a small gathering, but it's been a pretty steady stream of people coming over here. We also heard that a lot of the candidates in some of those bigger races should be coming by tonight. In fact, we heard that Representative Burgess Owen should be stopping by tonight. We hope to grab him if he's coming in and out. Also, Derek Brown, who's a top candidate for Attorney General. We're wondering if he can stop by and say hi. So we're going to be out here. We're going to talk to some of the candidates as they come and go. But yeah, there's a few people here tonight, and a lot of the GOP candidates are planning on making a visit. So we'll see how that's a little different. It's not your typical celebratory party like you normally have, like we had at the primary where they were all together, and Governor Cox was there with a number of other candidates, and that was definitely more of a party atmosphere. Tonight, a little different feel.
Well, I just need to put it out there. All those folks walking by who you hope talk to you. Hey, all of you. Amy's really nice. She's not some desperate weirdo outside the governor's mansion who's trying to get attention. She's super nice. She's very professional, and you should go talk to her.
We'll see. We'll go talk to him here coming up in a little bit.
Okay.
I had one county commissioner a little bit earlier. He was up here ready to celebrate. Funny enough, he's related to the other candidates.
I was going to say San Juan County Commissioner. That's Phil Lyman was a San Juan County Commissioner.
Right. That's right. So it's very interesting. But he had a lot to say about Governor Cox actually representing rural Utah and helping with a lot of projects he believes were important in rural Utah. We talked to Governor Cox last night at an event. He was in Grantsville. He was at a burger joint on Main Street talking to him about what he hopes to do for the next 4 years. He talked about bringing down the cost of housing and bringing down the cost of energy and being able to create our own energy here in Utah. So a couple of the big topics we'll probably hear a little bit more about from him later tonight.
Okay. Amy Nay, thanks so much. I hope you're staying warm out there. And let's go. I know that we have also Chris Arnold, who is at one of the watch parties for the Democrats. Oh, Democratic. Ooh, suddenly we heard your sound. It is busy there, isn't it, Chris?
My apologies, Max. I hit the button while you were talking. Yeah, if you guys can hear me, I mean, it's pretty loud and pretty exciting here right now. There's a lot of people here, as you can see behind me. I'm standing on a riser right now where the media was. Just trying to give you guys a little bit of a look. This is the watch party put on by Elevate Strategy. Several candidates here, namely Brian King, who's running mate, Rebecca Cummings, the Democratic governor and lieutenant governor candidates here in this race. Also, Michelle Quist, I see her off to the corner right now talking to a few people. She's a third-party candidate running for the Utah Attorney General's position, the position that Sean Reyes has decided to not run for re-election. But again, if I turn around here, I mean, you can see front to back, there are people packed into here, into Hotel Monaco, really just kind of taking it all in. A lot of people have been focused on this projection screen here behind me, keeping tabs on the presidential race as the numbers come in for that. But a lot of people here just really filing in about the past 15 to 20 minutes and really just hunkering down as the night proceeds. And if we do get any results, obviously they're looking forward to that. But I know what I believe Ben was saying earlier, didn't sound like that was good news coming from the lieutenant governor's office.
Yeah. I'm sorry that with that news coming to all of you, because that means you're going to have probably a pretty late night out in those places, or maybe they kind of call the parties early because they won't get results. Who knows? So you can cross your fingers whichever direction you want that to go, Chris. It is loud there, but I was able to make out everything that you said, and I appreciate you. So let's move on as we're covering tonight. By the way, Chris Arnold was mentioning out there that a lot of folks at the Democrats Party are watching the screens. They're paying attention to what's going on nationally. We are doing that as well, and we'll be sure to talk a little bit about that. But that is what you can get in so many different places, and we want to make sure you know what's happening here in Utah. And what I want to do now is check in with Spencer, who Spencer Joseph is at John Curtis's party. And Spencer, it looks like it's a pretty big, crowded room there. So what's going on there? And are people reacting? Have they heard these things about Utah County and some of the delays that are going on there? Do they know that this is probably going to be a pretty late night?
They certainly do.
Hmm.
In fact, we've been talking with several people in here that know. The original kind of plan was that John Curtis would take the stage maybe around 9 o'clock or so. That looks like probably is going to get maybe pushed back a little bit. But yeah, as I step aside, I mean, you could see it is like a party atmosphere in here. There's face painting, there's balloon animals. Swig actually has created a custom menu. This is the Curtis Colada.
Okay.
And they have created a custom menu around John Curtis. So
Mhm.
we are in Provo, at the Provo Rec Center. This is a place that was actually built when he was mayor of Provo. So he was mayor from 2010 to 2017, then moving on to the 3rd Congressional District, which he has now vacated in order to run for Senate. Getting about 50% of the vote in that primary, beating Trent Staggs, Brad Wilson, and Jason Walton. So I was actually there on primary night. And funny enough, Fox 13 is the reason that John Curtis knows that he won his primary race that night. The reason is because I had my cell phone in my pocket. I pulled it out. Jeff, who you saw earlier, had called the race with AP,
Mhm.
and I had gotten a push alert on my phone from Jeff, and I looked at it, and it said AP says that John Curtis wins primary. And I looked to my left. He was standing right to my left, and I just handed my phone to him. And he looks at me and he goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, congratulations, you just won the primary." So
Well, there you go.
he has taken the stage multiple times tonight. There's
Mhm.
live music and just really a party-like atmosphere. They said earlier, I talked with the chief of staff for Congressman Curtis, and he had told me that they really wanted to have this be a situation where they thank the people that have put them into office and have voted for them for so many years. So, yeah, they really did say they want it to be a party down here.
All right, and Spencer, all of us back here at the station will accept your apology for giving Jeff so much credit for calling a race. He has a big enough head already, um, and so so in Dow,
He's
there
on
you go.
here. Yeah,
There he
we go,
is.
Jeff. He
Yep.
knows. He
Oh.
called. He can get stuff up and get
Hmm.
stuff out so fast, and
Yeah.
really is the unsung hero of us at Fox 13, especially on election nights.
Okay. I believe all those things too. Just let's stop saying it in Jeff's presence.
That's awesome.
Okay.
But yeah,
Hey.
Max. I mean, seriously, I think
Uh,
tonight is not about being worried about this race. It's about celebrating everything that's come before and all of the
mhm.
people that have been a part of that. Certainly, obviously, the race, we still have yet to see numbers, but I don't sense that there's an atmosphere of worry in this room. However, as Chris said, I believe that everyone was kind of glued. We do have a large projector. I don't know if you can see it back there.
We
That
can.
has
Wow.
the national races up as well. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of people are maybe a little apprehensive about the national side of things, the local side of things. They feel very good about it.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to go to the other person in the race we're talking about here, Spencer. But I appreciate you so much. Thank you for bringing that to us from John Curtis HQ. And now we want to go to Taylor Stevens. Taylor, great to see you. And you are at Caroline Blight party there. And what do you see? First of all, where is it? What are you seeing? What's the atmosphere where you are?
Yeah, we are out at a food hall in Salt Lake, and happy election day. We are here, Caroline Blights, we haven't seen her quite yet. We're at the Utah Democratic Party's general party, so there's a lot of candidates here for state office, for obviously, as you mentioned, the federal race, and also we've seen some county council members running. So quite a
Hmm.
few candidates here tonight, and it's kind of, as you can maybe see behind me, getting a little bit busier now. We're expecting to hear some speeches from some Democratic Party officials in about 4 minutes or so.
Yeah, and this is something where you are, Taylor, when you talk about county races and those kinds of things. Now, you have been a reporter for a long time in the Salt Lake Valley, on the newspaper side of things, and now on television. So you know that that while statewide it's a slog for Democratic candidates, Salt Lake County itself is a place where Democrats can win, and there will be people who are where you are who are likely to be happy at the end of tonight.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's certainly an uphill battle for any Democrat running for federal office, especially the Senate here in Utah. But, there are some state races that we're watching to see if those will flip or hold. And as you mentioned, obviously, here at the county level, there's a potential that the balance of power on the county council could shift. So that's something that we are watching here. I just spoke with Natalie Pinckney, who is a candidate for the at-large Salt Lake County Council seat. I
Hmm.
covered her when she was, and she's currently serving her second term as a South Salt Lake County or City Councilwoman, excuse me.
Hmm.
And she talked about, the importance of homelessness to, address, and how some of the issues that she saw as a city councilwoman really made her want to run for county office and see if she could have a bigger impact. And so, we'll
Yeah.
see what comes with that race and some of these other county races that we've been watching.
And Taylor, you brought up an important point, and I just want you to, for our viewers who, aren't keeping track at the granular level of county councils and that sort of thing, when you say the balance of power could shift, just explain that to us.
Yeah, so we currently have a Republican majority on the county council with a Democratic mayor, Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson. Jenny Wilson is, of course, up for election this year, as are a handful of county council seats. But, it's possible that we could shift from a Republican majority on the county council to a Democratic majority on the county council, which obviously makes things a lot easier if Mayor Wilson is reelected, for her to kind of move her agenda through, although she has gotten a lot of items and budgets through with bipartisan support. Obviously, if you are the county mayor, it's easier to get your agenda if you have, the balance of power is in your favor on the county council as well.
And one of the nice things about localized government too is that sometimes people across party lines can work together pretty well because you're talking about just the bread and potatoes issues, the real kind of paving the roads, making sure you've got a jail that works, that sort of thing.
You definitely see a lot more of that at the county level. And, as someone who's covered local government for a long time, I always say that those county races, those local races are, arguably have more impact on your day-to-day life than, we're all obviously anticipating the federal election results tonight, but these are important races as well.
All right, Taylor Stevens, thanks so much. I really do appreciate that we get to benefit from your experience here at Fox 13 now. So appreciate your time. All right. So what I want to do, we're at 8 o'clock right now, and that's an exciting moment because it is the time when polls close in Utah. Unfortunately, we're still seeing very long lines, and we're waiting for some of those Utah results to come in. What I want to do right now, as we are at 8 o'clock, we may see some national calls for where Utah is going with the presidential race. So I'm going to keep on top of that. As a matter of fact, you'll see me looking to the side because I have our big computer here that I can use to kind of tell you what's going on. And you can see with the computer, you see we have Colorado already called for Kamala Harris. That's become somewhat of a safe Democratic state. There are certainly strong Republican pockets, and it's not a deep blue state, but largely reliable for Democratic candidates for president. And then as we pan out here, you see also some of our viewers right now in Evanston and Rock Springs and the Fremont County area, all of those places in Wyoming. Your state has been called for President Trump in that case. What I want to do now is turn to our analyst in studio, and that is Mary Weaver Bennett. Mary, it's so good to have you here. It's been fun to talk with you a little bit as the night has gone on. Mary is the director of the Michael O. Levitt Center for Politics and Public Service at Southern Utah University. And Mary, let's talk a little bit about what. First of all, give me big picture. We're watching the presidential race. Oh, you know what, Mary? I'm going to ask you to comment on this, but first, this is important. We need to bring back Kronos. And Mary, I don't know how well you can see this, but if you can see, Utah has already been colored in red by the decision desk headquarters, which we're relying on to call these states. Now, we don't have any results, but because Utah is reliably red, we do have strong polling data at the presidential level. And so Decision Desk headquarters has already said Utah, they're projecting that Utah will go to President Trump. We still have a whole lot of time to go. So Mary, let's start there. That's significant. What do you see?
Well, I would say, well, how about that? We haven't had any results tabulated yet and released, but our state's been called. That's pretty amazing and fast. You know, I was just thinking, I wonder if we will have election days anymore. Going back to 2020, our elections take longer than one day, and it's been building out for a week. 2020, we had paper ballots and hanging chads in Florida, and we have all these technological electronic advances, and yet still here we are 24 years later with long lines and people waiting in line to cast their vote and taking longer and longer to count and get results. So I'm not sure this is happening all across the country, not just in Utah. I think Utah is maybe finally catching up to the rest of the country and when it comes to these issues. But I don't know that we'll have elections in one day anymore. It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and I think you were trying to do a favor to those of us who are kind of older, because I was reporting in the Bush Gore election. And so 2000, you mentioned 2020, but then when you said hanging chads, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's 2000.
Oh, I meant 2000.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a long time ago, but it doesn't seem that long to me. But no, you're absolutely right that elections have become fraught with those kinds of issues and with some anxiety as well, and that's only accentuated in recent years. But we are seeing results kind of sweep across the country. Our decision desk, if we want to pull that up again, they have called North Carolina for President Trump. That's a big deal because that is one of the 7 swing states we're looking at. Georgia has yet to be called. And we do have results that are starting to come in some of these other places, but we're still waiting for some things, aren't we?
We sure are. I think the states that have been called are those states with wide margins and have reliably traditionally gone, much like Utah, gone Republican, states like Indiana and such. So I think we're in for a long night. I think,
Can I interrupt for 1 second? Do you mind if I interrupt?
Oh, yeah.
Interrupt. John Curtis looks like John Curtis has been called the winner.
Okay.
Called the winner. I just want to let you all know that just happened.
Thank you so much.
He is about to talk, so I will bring that up when Spencer just got in the way.
There's Spencer too, yeah.
But I just want to let you guys know that happened. So.
No, Jeff, I'm so glad you're up there. I was wondering what the real-time election center was. that wasn't a label I was aware existed. But so that's really helpful. And what I've pulled up our decision desk, and again, no votes counted so far, but they have already called it for John Curtis. Again, these are situations where we have solid pollsters who have reliable track records and who show that and who think they have enough information to just say, okay, it's time for polls to close. I'll bet the lieutenant governor isn't too happy about this, Mary, that they're making polls while people are still in line. But yeah, looks like the Senate has been called as well. Mary, that was to you.
Great.
We have so it looks like we know who the next Utah senator will be, and replacing Mitt Romney.
Yes, and I would say probably no surprises there. John Curtis has led throughout the race, and will be sending a Republican to the Senate to replace a Republican. And he's had a long and storied career in politics in Utah as a member of the House of Representatives, and then in state legislature before that. So congratulations to John Curtis. I think going back to your polling remark, I would say polling cuts both ways, right? And traditional methods and ways of calculating and looking at electorates in different states and calling a state like Utah. But there are other states in the country who are growing and who have changing electorates, and whose electorates are getting younger and more diverse racially and culturally. And so the polling can be a double-edged sword when you're modeling, is what I meant to say. When you're modeling, you really have to be careful.
And Utah is a part of that changing nation as well. We're getting so many people moving in, and there are pockets of Utah that used to be solidly Republican that are no longer. And there are suburban pockets, places I grew up in, Ogden, which used to be very Democratic, and now will still elect Democrats, but not as reliably. Let's, if we can pull up our view of Curtis's party there. What do we call it? Real-time election headquarters or whatever. Hey, Jeff.
Unfortunately, Spencer is standing in the middle of our shot. Let's.
Oh, Spencer.
So really can't really scoot him out of the way. Can't hit him on the head.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that he will give us a heads up when we know when something's happening. I just want our viewers to know that we're watching that.
Yeah. I will, and Ben has some thoughts on this as well, if you'd like to bring in Ben to talk about it.
Okay, yeah, let's bring in Ben. Let's keep Mary up, so if she has, if she wants to add something, she can. And Ben, again, we have a couple of calls here in Utah. I guess our decision desk thinks it's just so obvious that Utah is going to go red. Oh, Ben, you are muted. I think
there we go. That seems to be the view that we are seeing, and it's why you're seeing states like Wyoming also being projected, even though the polls have barely closed, is because obviously Decision Desk, using its modeling, is justifying this, saying that the way that the polling has gone, the way that things have gone, they're confident in making this projection. What I haven't seen is for any other races at this point yet. Stand by, and of course, as we know, there are still people in line voting right now, and the Lieutenant Governor's office has said that it will not release real-time election results until every person has voted. And as we've been noting, Maithili Gooby has been reporting some significant long lines in Utah County because of ballot printing issues. They ran out of ballots. They're having to print some more. And that's causing a great source of frustration as well. So I wanted to also say that there's a lot of frustration mounting in Utah County over what's happened. In fact, Amelia Powers Gardner, the county commissioner, who was previously the county clerk, is quite upset with Utah County Clerk Erin Davidson. She says that this is not, she tells me, and she says I can quote her on this, I think it's clear Erin Davidson has failed. This is not unprecedented turnout. He was unprepared. So she also previously, last week, we reported, had called for him to recuse himself from overseeing the election, instead choosing to have the staff do that for a number of issues, including accusations that he was tracking ballots of some elected officials. That has led to an investigation by the Utah County Attorney's Office. So that's where we are tonight, with certainly some frustration in Utah County. We've also know that there are long lines in Weber County. There's some in Salt Lake County and Washington County. The Lieutenant Governor's Office has said it's going to be a long night because they are not going to release any results until the last person in line in the state has had their opportunity to cast their ballot. So that's kind of the disconnect that you're seeing here between this projection. And again, we want to caution, it is a projection, like Mary was saying. There's this sort of, what you prognosticating and then reality. And we will get the real-time results coming in a little bit, maybe in another hour or two. And then we'll start getting results for some critical local races. But meantime, that's kind of where we're at, is we get these projections that they feel like Utah is obviously such an overwhelmingly Republican state that this is sort of the path for these larger offices, that Trump was projected to win Utah as well as Wyoming, and then obviously John Curtis is projected to win the Senate seat against Democratic candidate Caroline Gleich. Max, I'm going to send it back to you because I'm looking at the John Curtis party, and it looks like he may be getting ready to take the stage.
And thank you so much, Ben. And that is really good information and direct reporting from Utah County. Okay, here's John Curtis. Mary, we'll come back to you after we hear from who we believe will be elected senator, although it's just a projection right now. Let's listen in. All right, it looks like we're having some audio issues there. Shall we see? Jeff, go ahead. You're muted.
It looks like there's an audio issue there, Max, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, Jeff, if you'll monitor that and let us know if that audio becomes available. What we are going to be seeing is what we expect is a speech just celebrating the fact that his race has been called, John Curtis's race. Oh, here we go. Let's listen in. Oh. No, he's not saying anything.
Good friends, my family, and the Curtis team. Tonight is not the end. It's just the end of the beginning. Together, we're on a journey. We've been across the state, top to bottom, through the highs and lows of a campaign. And here we are tonight at a critical journey for our country. It's been said that the day a journey begins is not the day a journey begins. This journey, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, started many years ago. And so many of you were there at the beginning. Thank you. A few of you were there at the beginning of the beginning and more. Tonight, earlier, I had a chance to meet with the Curtis team and the Curtis family, and you can see that's no small group, and thank them. They know how I feel about them, all of them, and each of them. I'm very, very blessed man. Let me repeat something that you've heard on the campaign from me, and I believe in my core. The founders saw our public service as something we did for a season. My season of service, the hallmark, will be service and stewardship. You elected me to legislate, to advocate, and represent you. My agenda will be your agenda. My voice will lift your voice. My vote will reflect your values. And together, we'll make Washington more like Utah. And America more like our children and our grandchildren need it to be. My commitment has been to represent every Utahn, and that I'm committed to do. These are challenging times, and in challenging times, you don't need a show horse or showboat. In rural Utah, they like to say, in troubled times, the last thing you need is a cowboy that's all hat and no cattle. So don't look for me throwing gas on the social media fire or giving clickbait to the cable news, but rather look for me right in my Ford, up and down, back and forth this state, doing the hard work of legislating and getting things done for Utah. And if you're not sure where to find me, don't look by the cameras or the microphones. I'll be on the Senate floor with my colleagues from both parties. I'll be meeting with Utahns, veterans, learning, listening, and studying how to solve our difficult problems. And don't bother telling me that we can't fix immigration or the budget. I believe we can. because I believe in the greatness of this
Okay.
country. I believe the Constitution was an inspired document.
Okay.
And I believe even on our worst day, everybody in the world wants to be us. Working together, we'll solve Utah's public lands here at home. We'll hold China accountable overseas, and we'll advocate for energy security around the world and energy dominance. And we'll put forward those values that make Utah extraordinary and great. Now, let me end this end of the beginning with a principle, one that defined the important beginnings for the Curtis family, and a principle that will be first, last, and always as I serve as your senator. Long years ago, the Curtis family adopted as our coat of arms an artist's picture of a bundle of sticks bound together with the motto, "In unity, there is strength." Sticks left by themselves can easily be broken, but bound together, they provide the strength that cannot be broken. In unity, there is strength. Walking the halls of Congress is a cherished gift. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the founders' whispers saying, "In unity, there is strength." And if you look closely, you will see sticks bundled together in the pictures, on the ceilings, and in the statues, symbolizing that in unity there is strength. Or as they say in the Senate, out of many there is one. Unity is needed in our nation. You know that tonight more than ever. And we should remember that oneness is not sameness, and compromise is not capitulation. I hope that you'll see in my actions the dignity of working together and of unity. As Utah Senator, I will make this motto my mandate in every situation and in every setting. It's been said that unity cannot be a slogan. We must make it a national imperative and together a shared project for we the people. Now, I thank each of you. I'm grateful for you. And I invite you on this next journey. Together, we will make Washington more like Utah and America more like what our kids need it to be. Thank you. God bless you.
All right, and we will take it back from there. And Mary, I want to go right to you. I want to get your impressions of the tone and content of what you just heard. Oh, you're muted. I wonder if that's if there we
There
go.
we go. And there we are at the end with the pledge to make the country more like Utah. And so I think he reached out and tried to make a very bipartisan, big tent tone by saying he intended to work with his colleagues of both parties on the Senate floor, saying that he was not going to be involved in social media spats or looking for media coverage. Rather, he wanted to get to work and work with his colleagues in the Senate. Something to remember, however, is this could be a very big day for Senator Curtis because the Senate may flip to a Republican majority. The Democrats have a tough year of elections with reelecting incumbents to the Senate this year. There are several who are in grave danger. We have Ohio, Montana, and if those races go Republican, then the Senate will become a Republican majority, and our Senator Curtis will be in the majority party.
Mm-hmm. And as we talk about that, we don't have some of the results from Montana or those Senate races that are close to us. But one of the things that you mentioned is let's see, I am just making sure that we're in the right place in terms of our maps. But one of the things that you mentioned, Mary, was talking about bipartisan work. That used to be a given. That kind of reaching out used to be a given. It's not so much anymore. I'm sure there are Senate races in other parts of the country where people are saying, yeah, we're going to get in there and we're going to, we're going to shape America into exactly what our side says it needs to be.
Yes, and I think some of that can be attributed to the tone at the top. The political leaders who are at the top of each of the major political parties, they set the tone of how much compromise and working together there will be. In recent years, we've seen that tone be very strident, and people digging in their heels and not wanting to compromise for the sake of making a point. I was, encouraged by Senator-elect Curtis's remarks and wanting to work with people across the aisle. Not every member of Congress says that, so it's good to have one that does. I also think anyone who's elected in the state of Utah has to pay attention to the changing demographics that we're seeing. When I was doing my research, actually, I looked from 2020 until now. Iron County has grown by 14%.
And that's where you live, Southern Utah University, Cedar City, the center of Iron County.
Right. And Washington County, where we're seeing long voting lines, has also grown 14% in 4 years. And so there are a lot of people moving into those counties from out of state, bringing in a whole new dimension to the population of Utah. So I think any statewide elected official really has to think about expanding the panoply of people that they serve.
Yeah. And Mary, before I let you go, we are going to have a cut in pretty soon, and we're going to share that with our viewers online. It's also going to be on air on Channel 13. That's about a 3 to 4 minute broadcast talking about where we are exactly right now. But Mary, what I want to show you, because you have some roots in Pennsylvania, strong roots there, and we do have some numbers coming in. I'm going to ask Jeff if we can bring up the map, the Chronos.
Oh, give me 1 second, Max, since I had to switch it for the cut in, but that's fine.
Okay.
Hold on.
Pennsylvania's
yeah. Right, let's see.
Pennsylvania's too close to call. And what we're seeing here, and Mary, I don't know how well you can see this. I'll describe it to you. Just over 50% of votes are in. Right now, Donald Trump is leading, but you can see the blue around Philadelphia. You mentioned that you worked in Scranton and had some real experience there, and also in the very northwest of the area. What are you seeing here? Because Pennsylvania is so key to this race.
Well, the first thing I see is Erie County, which is in the upper left-hand corner. That is 50-50 county. So for that to go blue is notable.
And 63-35 right now, although just 34% in.
Yes, but that's a notable result right there. Looking at obviously the county, Bucks County, those surrounding Philadelphia and suburbs seem to be, York County was one. York County is another bellwether county, and I believe it has been called for Harris, and that is an important sign as well. That's one of the counties I had to watch, which would be Cumberland, York, Bucks County, Erie County as well. So,
and Mary, what I'm seeing in those counties too is that it's not even a full third of the vote counted in, and so if those stay strongly for Harris, then that might bode well for her.
Yes. These signs bode well for Harris at the moment. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let you go for now because we have folks who are going to be coming in. I know you have been a part of these cut-ins as well. So I'll just Jeff take our viewers through some things. Ben, do you want to kind of make your way over here? Ben's going to be a part of all of these things. Ben, I don't know if our viewers will be able to hear you. Maybe I should stick this out. There we go. Yeah. Ben. Yeah, you have volume. We're looking at some of these things and kind of looking at our map. And let's see if we can get to, does that want to go national? There we are. So Iowa, I wanted to mention to our viewers, there was a lot of talk that Iowa might go for Harris because of a poll from the Des Moines Register on Saturday that came out and said that she had a very small lead. She's actually doing very well in Iowa. It's just not It's just right now. It doesn't look like she's going to take that state, and that's essentially all that matters. But it could be a bellwether. Okay, we're going to go to the cut-in now, Ben. I'll step aside.
Local races, and we also have our eye on the presidential election tonight. Here in Utah, polls closed about 30 minutes ago, and some Utahns are still in line to vote right now. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson says her office will not release any results until the last voter in line has cast their ballot.
Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson says they had to deliver extra ballots because more people were showing up than expected. Then, as Utah County printed more ballots, the printers at some of their polling locations ran out of ink. Others ran out of registration forms and had to have more delivered from other locations. Let's get to Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi in Utah County. Maithili.
Bob Kelly, it's all because of magenta ink. Now, some printers were running low on magenta ink, and that's why they weren't able to print ballots. So emergency ballots were sent to locations. They were sent to about 4 or 5 locations. We have Highland, Payson, Orem, Saratoga Springs, and Pleasant Grove as well. Now, trying to keep up with the number of people standing in line. So they've said these emergency ballots are a little more difficult and take a little longer to process. So that could delay how long it takes to get results. But the county clerk's office says they are good now. They've sent supplies where they need to go. They've been doing what they can to make sure everyone does get their chance to vote. Now, just across the street from us is where the Provo voting center is. And there were long lines. We were leaving there about 30 minutes ago, and there were still lines outside the door. So it could take a while to get all these ballots counted, but they're doing the best they can with what they have right now in Provo.
Maithili, thank you for the update.
John Curtis is taking the stage took the stage within the past few minutes.
Yes, he was declared the winner. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Know that, but I suspect he would. And I suspect President Harris would go further into that. The reality of it is that the approaches that we're taking to public lands is very divisive. And I think I've been able to show, for instance, in Emory County, that we can resolve these difficult public lands issues, not only here at home, but with bipartisan support.
Let me ask, when it comes to the idea of a divided country, I think that's tough as a senator to kind of navigate those waters. You said you're going to work across the aisle. Can you describe kind of how you approach the other side and how you make sure to do that?
Well, I can tell you I've already had conversations with my colleagues who will win on the Democratic side tonight, and a number of senators that are Democrats that are already there. And I bring my House relationships with the Democrats. I've been able to pass 20 bills in a divided Congress. There's no way you can do that without relationships. And I think as the American people look past kind of the noise, they'll see a lot of Republicans and Democrats that actually like each other and work very well together.
What do you think Utah voters took away from your climate change stances?
Well, I think
John Curtis being declared the winner by Fox News in the Senate race to replace Mitt Romney in the U.S. Senate. Let's take a live look at the 2024 presidential results. Scripps News and Decision Desk have projected Mr. Trump will win the battleground state of North Carolina. Scott Tronter, director of the data science team at Decision Desk, said they were able to call North Carolina for Trump because they are seeing similar trends when Trump won the state 4 years ago.
It is always exciting election night. Stay tuned. We have full coverage of the top races, also updates on nearly 200 races in Utah, all coming up on Fox 13 News at 9.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a second. Max is just getting set up after moving Ben out of the area, so you see, let's bring him back up.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
Yeah, just had to get things going here. But this is we have some interesting things going on nationally. Utah has been called by Decision Desk HQ for former President Trump, although that is a projection, and we always want to make that point. Nationally, you can see a slight lead by Trump. That is going to change. I mean, I don't know that the slight lead is going to change, the number's going to change, and there's going to be a lot of fluctuation as results come in, especially because a lot of battleground states and then strong Democratic states along the West Coast are not going to come in until much, much later. Let's go to the place, Maithili. You never know on an election night where we're really going to see the issues in the news. But you were smart enough, and our other folks here were smart enough to get you to Utah County, and it's turned out that that's become kind of a problem spot right now.
You're right, Max. Now, I was at the polling area across the street earlier, but this is where all the ballots are being tabulated, processed, and just getting them ready, getting results ready to post when the governor does let us do that once all these people who are standing in lines are done. But there have been quite a few delays here in Utah County. Highland, Pleasant Grove, St. Francis Orem, Saratoga Springs, and I'm missing one more city, Payson as well. We're all having issues with supplies. They're running out on printer ink. Magenta ink in the printers wasn't allowing them to print the ballots needed, so they were sending emergency ballots to them. But those emergency ballots actually include every single race, so people need to be careful about what they vote for. And there are multiple checks after that to make sure that people are voting for the races that they should be voting for. Unlike when you go and get your ballot printed, it has your precinct, what you should be voting, and it's really simple that way. So
Yeah,
this might take a little more time, Max.
Yeah, and Maithili, you just bring up such a great point, and I want to accentuate it, which is essentially, you can imagine the ballot's long already. We got our ballots 2 pages. That's a whole lot, front and back, and you have so many races, but that ballot is specific to where you live. Now, imagine you get a ballot that's much longer than that because it includes every single state legislator within Utah's second biggest county. Utah County is huge, and so that ballot has to be just immense. And how many of us know right off the top of our head what that district number is? We may know the name of the person who represents us. The number, those are just not things that most of us bother knowing through our daily lives.
You're right, Max. And that also means that the checks and balances later take a lot more people to go through those ballots, to go through every single voter to see, okay, what should they be voting for? Did they vote for something accidentally? So even if we do, start getting results soon tonight, once everyone does vote in line, after that, it could take a little longer to get all of these ballots actually counted and to know what the results even are.
Now, Maithili, I know things are so crazy out there as you're reporting, and so I don't expect that you heard what Ben had heard from the county commissioner, who had formerly been the county clerk there in Utah County. Did you get a chance to hear that?
No, I didn't actually. What was that, Max?
Well, she said, a fellow Republican said that this is that is just a sign of incompetence. That the county clerk should be prepared, should have plenty of printer ink. They know how many voters are in the county. They won't know how many people have voted before Election Day.
Max, so I did speak to Utah County Clerk Aaron Davidson just a little while ago after polls closed about this. And he told me that, yes, he accepts full responsibility, that he wasn't prepared for this. They prepared for the numbers that they typically see in person, and this time just exceeded all of those expectations. He says a part of it could be, their office encouraging people to vote in person instead of just mail in. But he said that he's been encouraging people to do this for the past couple years and hasn't seen this actually happen until now. So he said this is a learning way, it's a lesson to learn, but next time, be prepared for more in-person locations, more equipment to handle all of those locations, more staff and all of that. But definitely accepted that they were not prepared to handle it, and that hopefully they can do better next time.
Okay, and just to reset why this is so important, not just for the folks in line in Utah County, but for everyone else. Why is that, Maithili?
Well, that's because until every single voter in the state has voted, Max, but when they're standing in line, we're not going to get any results. So this could take a while. I came to this building about almost 45 minutes ago, and there was a line outside the Provo voting center still outside the building, and that one didn't even have actual delays because of printers. So it could be a long time. Aaron Davidson telling me that, we could see results only maybe by 10 o'clock or 10:30, just depending on how late it goes to get everyone voted.
And one of the unique things about American elections, and one of the things that makes them uh, very secure, is the fact that you have every single county in the country run separately, and so there's no central place where you can plug in and just manipulate an election. What that also means is different processes, and so the reason that I'm circuitously getting to this point is that there's a. I wonder, do they have electronic voting machines there, or is it all paper?
From what I've seen here, it's all paper.
Mm. So yeah, so people going to vote in person, they're still getting a paper ballot rather than voting on a touch screen.
Yeah.
Wow, I just assumed that everyone who voted in person, it's now, touch screens. But I've been voting by mail for years and years now.
Yeah, there may be some accessibility machines potentially, but from what I've seen,
Hmm.
it's all just the paper ballots.
Well, Maithili Gooby, you have a tough job out there, and we really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Thank you.
And look who's there. Amy, did they let you inside?
They did. They did let me
Wow,
inside. Thank you.
nice. Well, I'm so glad that everyone knows you're as nice as you seem on TV. So
Thank
anyway,
you.
yeah. So tell us, Amy, you're covering Governor Cox's party there at the governor's mansion. What's going on there?
That's right. All right. So we did move inside the governor's mansion. There's a small gathering here of friends, family, supporters inside the mansion. I'm in a little room right here. It's actually the first lady's room here. And we've got the reporters kind of gathering here, a little bit of a media grouping in here, waiting to hear from Governor Spencer Cox. He is waiting for all of the results to come in before he comes out. I mean, actually, not all the results. He's waiting for all the voting to be done before he comes out and speaks to us. And as we've been hearing from Michael, that is not complete yet. So we're still waiting for him to come out. We're expecting to hear from him a little bit later on, but we're inside warming up a little bit. It's getting cold out there. We've been out in the snow and in the rain, and the sun came out
Hmm.
for a minute. But yeah, we're here. We're hoping, like so many other people, to have some results and be able to talk a little bit more about them. We're expecting a few other candidates to stop by as well, and I haven't seen too many of those yet, but I understand there are some supporters, some people who've gathered inside. We've seen a pretty good crowd kind of come into the mansion here tonight.
You know what I love? I love the picture behind you. If you could show that again, that's we reporters and photographers, when we're out in the field, we're kind of blue collar folk at that point. You got to have the heavy coat. You got to have the comfortable shoes.
Look at
and
that.
then they put him in the governor's mansion, and it's like, wow. It's I love the contrast. It's just
Isn't
it
that
makes me
great?
happy.
You
Yeah.
get to see behind the scenes here,
Hmm.
like nowhere else. Here on the Fox
Yeah.
13, our streaming version, you get to see a little of the grit and the grime here.
Yeah. Oh, Amy, well, thanks so much, and you get to class up the joint, so that's good. All right. Well, as we move on, I think what I want to do is give another picture of the national map. Just let you know that we are watching what's happening with the presidential race, what has been called by our folks. It really is. It's a whole. We're going to be watching this throughout the night because a lot of the places that we really need to know, Pennsylvania is top amongst them. We need to know where that's going. And right now we don't have a call, and it's too close to say. And then also you can see all this gray area, Michigan there, don't have a call. Kamala Harris winning by a slight margin. Wisconsin as well. Really, if everything holds as expected, then what Harris would need to win were those three states that I've just been going through. If she won all of those, then it's likely that she wins the whole thing. If she loses one of those, then it's going to be a very tough race because Georgia and North Carolina already have been projected as Trump wins. Now, Georgia, that's a new one, actually, that I hadn't noticed until I pulled this up for all of us just right now. But it looks like that's being called, projected again for Donald Trump. We remember, and what I want to do now is bring in both Ben and Mary, if that's an option right now. Ben is helping us out with this. As I look at Georgia and I say these are projections, Mary, we were talking about the 2000 election, and we remember that was a time when Florida was called, and then suddenly that call was pulled back, and we had a candidate who was about to concede and didn't, and so who knows what's going to happen.
Exactly. Well, that was a recount, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the path for Harris and Trump both has narrowed now that we have North Carolina and Georgia called for Republican, then obviously Harris would need the blue wall, right? Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. And then the other two swing states left are Nevada and Arizona. And so things are narrowing down with the call of those two states, and options are narrowing about how each candidate can get a win.
Mm-hmm. And as we see those projections, and we see that what looks like a substantial lead for former President Trump, at the same time, none of the results we've seen so far are surprises. There were possibilities for a different result in Georgia and North Carolina, but really, if we're going to expect something, if everything went to expectations, it is that Midwestern blue wall that we'd be looking towards, or the Great Lakes states there. Let's move locally again here, and Ben, you and Mary both have expertise in different ways here. Ben, what are you hearing? You've done some reporting for all of us in terms of where ballots are, how the voting is going.
Well, again, what we're seeing is, and what you're experiencing right now is national news outlets that, based upon their own modeling, their exit polling, et cetera, are projecting who they believe will win a particular state, even as ballots are still being counted. So, for example, like Utah, we have seen the calls by Decision Desk, the Associated Press, and others that Donald Trump is taking Utah. That is a projection by those outlets. The same with John Curtis. I do want to just give a little more news here. Caroline Gleich, the Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate running against John Curtis, has issued a statement where she has officially conceded. I'm just going to go ahead and read this here so that everybody can hear this. She says, running for the U.S. Senate was the most challenging thing I've ever done, and I've done some difficult things before. I'm incredibly proud of the campaign we've run. While the result was not what we had hoped, we focused on critical issues, climate action, public lands, and reproductive freedom. We've engaged young people who have the greatest stake in the future of this country. We led by example and inspired the next generation of leaders to vote, get involved politically, and run for office. We proved that people from different backgrounds who lead regular lives and are first-generation politicians can run for office and make an impact. Most of all, we made the Republican candidate fight for a state which his party normally takes for granted. Congratulations, Representative Curtis. Throughout the campaign, Rep. Curtis promised to take action on climate, and I look forward to working with him and other legislators on protecting our environment and supporting policies for our families, freedom, and future. We never climb a mountain alone, and I couldn't have run without the support of Utahns that are ready for a change. To every volunteer, supporter, voter, union leader, environmentalist, donor, to my family and friends, and everyone who believed in me, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So that is a concession statement from Caroline Gleich, obviously going with what we are seeing with the national projections. But again, this is where it runs into projections, run into actual reality. We have people still in line waiting to vote, and then we will get actual returns. The latest we now have from the Lieutenant Governor's office is it could be about 10 p.m. before we start seeing results.
Okay, that is really helpful for us to all know and prepare for, Ben. You and Mary, I know both have fond feelings and experience with Southern Utah University. And Mary,
go T-Birds!
And Mary, I want to bring you in and ask because you have the pulse on the you know the pulse of your finger on the pulse of the youth. I eventually got that thought out, but no. What have you been experiencing as you work with Utah college students as they've been watching this election?
Yes, it's been quite a year, and I will say I have students who work in the Levitt Center who are involved in both political parties, who are volunteering on campaigns this very moment for Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. And so I do see a renewed enthusiasm from previous years. I think the entry of Kamala Harris has engaged younger people that weren't so involved anymore. And now, looking forward to future presidential races, we'll be seeing candidates of that generation and younger. And I do see some increased energy, really, this year in particular in the student body.
And Ben, one of the things that I noticed, you did some great reporting on the last major poll that came out here in Utah, Noble Predictive Insights. One of the things that was really interesting for me as I was looking at the results, what they call the crosstabs, where you get to see all the real specific stuff in there, is that younger Utahns, 18 to 44, they were the results or they reported being far closer to 50-50 in terms of Harris Trump. And that's interesting, and it reflects a little bit of what Mary was saying too, that the younger generation maybe is a little bit different.
Yeah, and when I asked Mike Noble, the pollster, if there was potential Utah is turning purple or turning shades, he said certainly not right away. But this is, something to definitely pay attention to in the years to come. We are seeing a great migration, but it remains to be seen whether these are, shall we say, blue state people who are leaving because they want to be in a more conservative political climate, or if they're leaving because of other things and, perhaps they have their own different priorities and values when it comes to their voting than we have traditionally seen in Utah. That's more of a stay tuned, and that's more of a years down the road kind of thing. So definitely nothing that we're going to see necessarily tonight, as we have seen from the projections and the polling. It is looking more likely that Utah will remain firmly Republican, perhaps at least on the top tier offices. I am curious to see what happens in some of these down ballot races, some of the swing districts like West Valley City, the Ogden
Let's talk about
area.
that, Ben. What are some of the things that you're looking for there? And Mary, I know you've been looking into some of these things too. So Ben, let's start with you. You're mentioning West Valley City is a place where Republicans and Democrats trade back and forth.
They really have for a while now, and this is going to be, I think, the big battleground here. Is it's a fairly purple area. You have a pretty good mix of Republicans and Democrats in that area. Democrats have poured a lot of resources into this, believing that they can capture some seats, at least in the House, and try to pick those up. Also going to be interesting to watch the Ogden area, which used to be pretty reliably blue. It did go red, and so we're going to be seeing if there's a lone exception, Representative Rosemary Lesser. If she hangs on to her seat in this race, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's also the Senate race in the North Ogden area between incumbent Senator John Johnson, who's very firmly conservative Republican. He's being challenged by Stacey Bernal, so it'll be interesting to see if she can certainly maybe unseat him and put that back in Democratic hands. Stay tuned. But these seats are at least some of the ones that I'm watching more closely, just to see if there's any surprises on this election night.
Yeah, and Mary, you were mentioning as you were looking at some of these races that there's some. It almost feels like personal drama, in these things. We don't know if about personal drama really, but we do know that there are folks who have run against each other once before. It was very close, so they're doing it again.
Right, that would be House District 10 with Rosemary Lesser and Jill Coford. Rematch of the race 2 years ago in which Rosemary Lesser won by 500 votes. So we'll be looking at that race to see how the margin is this time.
Yeah, and as we look at some of these other races, Ben, a real stronghold, kind of a blue stronghold stretches from the kind of Rose Park, the West Salt Lake area, all the way to the east side of the Salt Lake Valley. It starts getting purple as you get out towards Cottonwood Heights, towards the canyons, and there are some races there that we're looking at too.
Yeah, Ben had to race to go get ready for our 9 o'clock show. So
Oh, okay, okay. So Jeff, what would Ben
have.
have said to that then, Jeff, if you could?
I don't want to ever step in Ben's shoes.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. But,
Predicting what Ben would say, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
it's a difficult way to go.
I think we have about a couple more minutes, and then we wrap it up and get ready for our 9 o'clock show on Fox 13.
All right. So, Mary, let's just have some closing thoughts. We're looking at a national race that is going kind of in a direction that we thought it would, but we're not seeing any surprises so far. So, let's start with there. What are you looking for there? Closing thought.
Well, obviously, we have several big states to come in, and they may not come in until tomorrow. Some place like Pennsylvania may not be in until tomorrow afternoon. I think when it's all said and done, one of the big factors that has been predicted to be consequential is the gender gap and the division of voting between men and women, and what percentage does Harris do better with women, and by what percentage does Trump do better with men. And it may be because this race is new, this may be the biggest sort of gender divide race we may see nationally ever, given the fact we have a female candidate. So that is definitely, as these states come in, I'm going to be looking at the gender numbers.
Yeah.
And as we know, there are more registered women in the country than there are men.
Mm-hmm. And they tend to show up more as well.
They tend to show up more. That's right.
That's interesting too, because there's a bigger gap this time than there was with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I think probably the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade is a big part of that.
Sure.
Here in Utah, closing thoughts. What are you looking at? I mean, really, the headline right now is we're not getting any results because there are some problems.
Yes, and we're a relatively small state in the scheme of things nationwide, and that we have election troubles just like everyone else. We've come to find out. We've finally reached that level of population. I would expect to see most offices in Utah go Republican for Congress and for governor and our statewide races. And then when we get to the state house and Senate, there are a few races that are toss-ups, and we may be waiting again until tomorrow to really know the answers to that. But I do think we will hold strong in our Republican values.
Yes, and that is small r Republican values.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mary. I really appreciate having had the chance to talk to you through all of this. And for those folks who are watching at home, thanks for joining us. We wanted to make sure that you had a place where you could find out what's going on in Utah while all of the other outlets are focused nationally. So thanks for joining us, and we hope now that you turn on those television sets, or if you're watching us on TV on the Fox 13 app, turn over to channel 13, because Fox 13 News at 9 is going to start in just a few minutes, and you'll get all the latest with our great team working hard on this election night.